Hey crew, before we get started today, I wanted to let you know that the initiative that we talked about on last week's show with Tay Phoenix, Trek the Vote, is still going on. If you want to get involved in our democracy, if you want to volunteer as a poll worker or assisting voters, getting their votes out and continuing our proud tradition of democracy, you can do that at trekthee.vote on the internet. Go check that out. On the show today, once again, I'm joined by Mikanhana to talk about a great episode of DS9. Mikanhana is the host of the Sailor Noob podcast, a podcast all about Sailor Moon and Japanese culture. You can find that on Twitter and Instagram at noob_sailor. As we usually do when she's on the show, we talked way too much and cut quite a lot of the conversation out. And a lot of funny stuff and a lot of just our musings on pop culture and Star Trek, which you can normally hear on our podcast, the Just Enough Trope podcast, which I encourage you to check out at Just Enough Trope on Twitter or justenoughtrope.com. If you want to hear all the parts that are cut out, you can always do that on our Patreon at patreon.com/EISTPOD, where we've got outtakes and extra content from recording sessions with guests, also live shows, and a lot more. For just $1 a month, you can become a member of the crew and get access to Enterprising Individuals' extra content. So check that out at patreon.com/EISTpod. I had a lot of fun talking with Mikanhana about Gul Dukat. I hope you enjoy our talk. Here it is. With that, let's get underway. Hailing frequencies open, and welcome to Enterprising Individuals, the Star Trek discussion podcast that boldly goes into excruciating detail about the series, characters, and stories of the Star Trek universe. I'm your host, Aaron Coker, a.k.a. Caliban, and attention Bajoran workers, random searches will now be 50% more random. I'm joined on this episode once again by Mikanhana. Mika is the host of the Sailor Noob podcast, an exploration for experts and newcomers of the fashion, food, and culture of the classic anime series Sailor Moon. She's also the co-host of the Just Enough Trope podcast, and she's a frequent guest on Star Trek Discoverage. Mika, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you back aboard.
Good to be here.
Today we'll be talking about Indiscretion, the 4th episode of the 4th season of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Dukat was right. Dukat did nothing wrong. Dukat was a good guy.
Oh, no.
Fire up the Google machine and you'll find a seemingly endless number of posts from impassioned Trek fans who are desperate to explain to you why Gul Dukat is not the monster you think he is and how his actions, however unpalatable, were working to the public good. Dukat was undoubtedly a capable administrator, inarguably an accomplished military leader, and certainly resourceful, and those are all desirable qualities, if you can overlook all the civilian deaths. We live in a time where our supply of empathy is at an all-time low, and people regularly confuse cruelty for strength. And those two failings underpin not only the brutal years of the Cardassian occupation of Bajor, but nearly every political, ethnic, and economic conflict of our current age. Dukat is a fun villain to jeer at, but also a war criminal who is serially unfaithful to his wife and who works continually to justify the motivations behind and effects of the murders and injustices of his administration. That's not a good guy. And as his fate and the fates of many dictators reveal, the ends never justify the means. But we'll talk about that a little later in the show. But first, Mikanhana, it's great to have you back on the show, and it has been a while since you were on the show to talk about a Trek episode. I think the last time was in season 2.
Is that right?
Yeah, we talked about Imaginary Friend.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Oh, no, Priscilla, or whatever her name was.
I don't even remember what her name is.
Oh, she's making a chair float.
I think now that you mention that, I think that the only episodes I've talked about on Enterprising Individuals have been TNG episodes.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's time to mix that up a little bit. Yeah.
A chair float is a chair and root beer, by the way. Well, the reason that's probably true is that you were most familiar with TNG.
Well, that's true.
Just to emphasize how long it's been, on that episode, we talked about how you just finished a full watch of DS9. And we talked about your thoughts on it.
Yes.
Since then, you've not only completed a full watch of Voyager as well, but you're plowing through Enterprise, too.
That is correct. I am working my way through all of the Trek series, and I'm going to... Do I graduate from Starfleet Academy once that's done? What happens?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Do I get a PIP?
And then your cadet cruise is an animated series.
Right.
You've already got time released for early release for time served as far as the CBS Trek shows go. So.
Yeah. So wow. Yeah, it really has been a while then. I'm watching I'm in the middle of the second season now of Enterprise.
Yeah.
And I think the show has a bad rap.
You keep waiting for it to get bad, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
I really do. And I'm looking around and I'm like, no.
It will.
I'm sure it will.
but it hasn't yet.
I'm sure it will. I mean, there are episodes that are not great.
Yeah.
But overall, I think it's pretty great. And like I saw like I'm in a couple of Star Trek groups online, and like this one is not an Enterprise focused one, and somebody brought up, they were talking about Enterprise, and they were like, somebody said something about how the crew is xenophobic, and I don't really understand that. I mean, what is your view on that?
I guess I don't know why they would say that. I'm watching Enterprise as well, and getting it all, trying to complete a whole viewing of it and get it in my mind. And the only thing I can think of is I was watching an episode recently, and I was thinking about, I think it was, is it called Singularity? It's an episode where they want to check out a black hole, but for some reason the black hole has crazy rays, and it affects all the humans on the ship, and also just the Denobulan, because we need the doctor to be knocked out.
Right.
And I was thinking, oh yeah, this isn't a situation where there'd be, there's an Andorian ensign who can like take over or something. Because this is an Earth ship. Everybody on the ship is a human. So it's not like, I don't think that the show goes out of its way to say like, oh boy, these aliens so dumb. We're just seeing it through the lens of characters who aren't as evolved as Kirk and Picard yet. But at the same time, Jonathan Archer would never, he makes decisions all the time to like protect, races that they're just met, or to respect them. And then sometimes it's like, geez, these Thalassians or whatever, they want us to like stand on our heads and do all this stuff, and it's just really annoying. But I haven't run into like out and out human chauvinism yet.
I haven't either, so I kind of wonder where that comes from.
There's some regular chauvinism. I think the show is a little broy.
It is, and I don't think that it is definitely a little broy, and I don't think that Hoshi and T'Pol necessarily always get to do things. I mean, especially Hoshi, if I'm really honest. They just
like why couldn't I love T'Pol, I love Trip, but flip it.
Okay.
What if like a Zahn type character was the Vulcan representative, and then Trip was a girl, was a woman.
Sure. Yeah, that would definitely.
So like Archer and Trip
things.
have been friends for a long time, but just like platonic friends, like they just, they didn't get together or anything. And then you can do everything that is coming up in the show still. It's just sort of flipped.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would make it more interesting for sure. And also like
I'm from Pensacola, Florida, or whatever, but it's a girl. She likes wrenching on stuff, and
there's nothing wrong with that.
That wasn't the vision,
right?
That wasn't the vision of Brandon Braga and Rick Berman, who maybe see themselves as Archer and Trip.
I mean,
which is which?
Yeah, right. It's entirely possible. Do you think that the hate from Enterprise is just like people have an idea in their minds of what it's going to be like, or and then they just are like, yeah, I don't like this, or they've already decided I'm not going to like this, so they don't like it, and they're looking for things.
I think after, you know, the sort of sweeping epic of DS9 and the people are already mad kind of about Voyager, but like the action thrills of Voyager and like expanding the universe of Trek and the Borg and all that, you get this kind of stripped down back to basic show.
Yeah.
And I think people were unsatisfied with that. That's one of the reasons I like Enterprise. I like the fact that the transporter can't solve everything, that they don't have replicators, that just being like the episode where they're trying to get the mine off their ship. Can you imagine them doing that on the Enterprise D?
No, they would
the
just
fact
take
that they
care
don't
of
have
it,
some wand that they can't wave, to just take care of it. I think that it slows things down a lot. Usually in a good way. Sometimes they forget to write extra material in to make it interesting.
Right.
Now all shows, mostly streaming shows, they're all crazily overwritten and there's just too much stuff and it's like fine, every character's got a speech every episode. Not always necessary, but I think maybe if you took some of that and put it back into Enterprise and gave them, because this like the Singularity episode I was talking about is like their Naked Time. It's like where they all kind of go crazy. And I was thinking about the fact that I like these characters, but I don't think we know enough about these characters yet to make them going crazy mean anything.
Yes.
And it's funny because the Naked Time is like the 6th episode, I think.
It's really early
of the
on.
first of TOS.
Yeah.
And yet we still kind of like have a feeling for those characters already that when they're running around and being crazy, it like kind of makes sense.
Right. And I think you're right about that. And I think maybe that's another reason why people don't like it is they don't feel like they have a really good sense of who these characters are. But I do like that it is stripped down, and I like that this is pre-Federation, and they're just kind of like astronauts in a way, and that there's such an emphasis on we're exploring. And I mean, that's always a part of Star Trek. They're explorers. They're boldly going where nobody has gone before. They're trying to make connections and have these new experiences.
Yeah, I love the fact that they pull up to every planet like, hey, what's going on?
They're like, ding dong.
My name's John. I'm from Earth.
Yeah, right.
And the aliens are like, point your guns.
What's Earth?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, right?
They're like, whoa, sorry.
And I know.
Hidely ho, neighbor.
Yeah, exactly.
We're the Flanders of the galaxy is what I'm saying.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And it helps, too, that he's got his dog who is incredibly adorable and 2 great dog actors, I learned.
Yeah.
Does everything on cue. Don't feed Porthos cheese. But I think that helps too because I think that helps you give you a clue into like Archer's character, you know?
Yeah.
And then also his relationship with his dad and who his dad was.
If we ever saw Picard talk to his fish, he would seem immediately 25% more human.
Right.
But instead, like they clearly went like, we got to give, Archer will have a dog. And that way we'll see him just interacting with his cherished pet as a normal person, in addition to having to represent all of humanity and solve all these terrible problems that we've never faced before.
Right.
Well, now that we wasted all our time talking about Enterprise, give me like a 5-word summary of your enjoyment of Voyager.
Oh, okay. My enjoyment of Voyager in a how many word summary? 5?
It doesn't really matter.
I love Janeway. Who doesn't? But I guess that's my biggest takeaway from Voyager. I do really like the crew as a whole.
Yeah.
I like that they're forced to go to this to the Delta Quadrant, and the whole thing is them getting home. I kind of think that sometimes that gets lost, and that we could have explored that maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
At times, or like maybe they tried to, because there's not really an effort to make lasting relationships with anybody. They want to leave a good impression, but you know what I mean? But I think that's really hard to do. So sometimes it's like hard to track, but overall I think I really enjoyed it. I like, another big takeaway for me is like, I really enjoy, 7 of 9.
Yeah.
I like Tuvok and B'Elanna a lot as well.
Yeah.
Some characters I'm like not super keen on. Like I'm not really a huge Stan from for Chakotay. But you know,
I think that's his first name. Stan, right?
Right.
I think that maybe outside of Captain Kirk, I think Captain Janeway is probably the ultimate like Starfleet officer, like the officer, the person that was born to do it.
Yes.
Picard does, he gets the job done, but he always seems like more of a philosopher or a diplomat who's sort of required to go places and chart gaseous anomalies sometimes or whatever, but he's really there for the diplomatic purpose. And Sisko is a guy who he's not really like a administrator for a station. That's not really his thing,
right.
but he figures it out. And then becomes the man for the moment when this war starts. Like that's really what his strength is. And Archer's just this like explorer and just this kind of like heroic romantic guy who is probably the best guy for us to send out, even though he's not always aware of the sort of political and, social minefields that he ends up tripping through.
Yeah. I mean, he's like super optimistic and wants to put his best foot forward and everything. So, I mean, I think that's a good guy to represent you.
Yeah.
On your maiden voyage, so to speak.
Yeah. And he's the representative of the 20th century or the 22nd century of Earth. Like if it'd be great if we could just stick Picard's ancestor, in charge of the NX-01 or something like that.
Right.
But this is the guy we've got. Okay.
Yeah.
I think we figured it out.
Yeah.
On Sailor Noob, I almost said Sailor Moon. It's
Easy
Sailor
to do.
Noob, show about Sailor Moon.
Yes.
You talk about not only the show Sailor Moon, but also the cultural elements of the show. And as a show, it's weird because, when you think of anime, you think of giant swords or you think of scantily clad ninjas or something like that. And
giant robots.
And Sailor Moon is crazy in that way because it's got like monsters and superheroes and things like that. But it's set in a very recognizable real world Tokyo. And there are elements to the show that are just slices of everyday life, from Japanese life.
Absolutely.
At the time when it was made, the 90s or whatever, but also things that persist till now.
Yeah.
Have you run into a lot of misconceptions from people about the show Sailor Moon? Like they expect it to be one way, and it's something else, or Japanese culture. Like don't they pee in like holes? What are there toilets like?
That's a really good question. I think that maybe what I've run into the most, that I've had the most experience with, is maybe misconceived perceptions about the show itself and what it is about, or the things that it actually presents. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because on the tin, what does it look like? Right? It's like a magical girl, and her friends.
Yeah.
And there's a cat that has a crescent moon on its forehead. Right. So you're like, okay, but I got no idea what this is. I have no idea like what this is going to deal with, that sort of thing. Honestly, the thing that came to my mind is the first time I showed this to my best friend. I had no idea how she was going to react. I had recently, or not that long before that, tried showing her Star Wars for the first time. That did not go well.
No.
That was the least... she hates Star Wars. She thinks Chewbacca's a walking carpet.
Well, wow. She's got something in common with one of the characters in Star Wars.
Yeah, and we actually had like this huge fight because I told her beforehand. At the time, I thought that Luke Skywalker was really whiny and I didn't really like him. I since have changed my opinion about that. But, in the first film, he's young and he doesn't really know what's going on and he complains a lot. Yeah. So she knew this was going to bug me, but she like looked at me and was all like, "Oh, I really like that Luke Skywalker though." And I was like, "Whoa." And so I like wouldn't talk to her for several hours. But anyways, so she was like, "Sailor Moon, what is this?" And she was like, "Huh, whatever." And then she, like, the way she talks about it, like, she was like, "Before I knew it, within, like, before the end of the first episode, you somehow tricked me into liking it.
Yes.
Like, she was, like, making fun of it. She's like,
Pretty
what is
sneaky,
this?
yeah.
You know? And then she's, like, a huge Sailor Moon fan. She wrote,
What's
like,
in this glass you gave me?
I know.
I like this show now.
Yeah, exactly. She's written Sailor Moon fanfic. So, yeah. So that's a good example.
Yeah. In exploring Japanese culture as it's depicted in the show, what's your favorite, like, cultural fact or something that you've unlearned that you've learned by researching the culture?
Wow. My favorite cultural fact. There's so many. I think that's one of the things that I really like about doing the show is because, it was my first anime that I started watching, and that got me interested in Japan.
Yeah.
But I'm still doing the research for the show. I'm doing a lot more in-depth research than I did, as like a teen. Like, well, what is they ate this? What is that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What is that food? What is it made out of? So we did a show recently where we talked about basically the afterlife of in Shintoism and Buddhism.
Sure.
And I think that was really fascinating. And I mean, Shintoism is like specific to Japan, right? But Buddhism is like found like all over, and so it's like really hard to kind of try to pare that down.
This is the teriyaki flavor of Buddhism.
Right. And it's like, maybe there's even like I'm sure there's different, like, versions of Buddhism like that are practiced even within Japan itself. But it's like, well, this is like kind of what most Japanese people seem to believe. Like, this is what happens when you die.
you cross a river,
right,
in one of three places.
Exactly. And depending on how bad your karma was in life. And
do you like snakes?
Yeah, right, exactly. How about demons? And and then they'll weigh your clothes and like
right.
So yeah, I think that's probably one of my favorites that I've learned so far.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
You learn about an anime and also about a fascinating culture.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, where can people check out Sailor Noob if they want to do that?
Yeah, we are, you can search Sailor Noob wherever you find podcasts. We're also on Facebook at Sailor Noob, and on Twitter and Instagram at noob_sailor.
Cool.
Yes.
Why did you choose this specific episode, Indiscretion, to discuss today?
Okay, so I picked this episode largely because Kira is probably one of my favorite characters from DS9, but I was thinking about it. She's probably one of my favorite Trek characters.
Yeah.
Of all of time, and I also love to hate Dukat. I as a villain, I find him very fascinating because we do, like in this episode, find out things about him, like maybe he's not pure evil sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like you said before, he's not really a good guy, but I think it makes villains more interesting if they're not painted as like completely evil and you know what I mean?
All characters are more interesting the more human they become.
True.
Sorry, I'm being too Enterprise here. The more, I don't know, three-dimensional they become.
Yes.
The more Cardassian they become.
Yes. So I picked this episode because it's a good episode for both characters, and I like that Kira is forced to work with him. Yeah. On this mission. She absolutely does not want to do it.
Would you want to take a long car ride with Hitler?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I completely understand where she's coming from. And I like that they both want to find this ship because there are people that they cared about who were on it.
Yeah.
And that and they want to find out what happened to them, obviously. And that they've probably both been keeping this on the back of their minds for it's been I think they said 6 years.
Yeah.
And I also like that Dukat acts as if his interest in this mission is purely because he was in charge of the Ravenok. And is it the Ravenok or the Ravenok? I feel like I'm saying it wrong.
It's the Ravenok, I think.
Ravenok. Okay.
There's something's lost in translation, maybe.
Yeah. But I like that he's like, so your interest is personal. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
All right, Judge.
They were my troops and my duty.
Yeah.
And I'm responsible for them.
Yeah.
And, yeah. People, boy, that's just something that he is so good at, trying to reframe his past, trying to reframe his actions, as something positive. And I don't know why. I mean, I think you can appreciate that. And maybe every once in a while, a fun kind of trollish post about how Dukat was the real hero of DS9. Hey, listen, let me tell you something.
Right.
The way that people slobber over Dukat really mystifies me. And you've even got characters
he's like a romantic figure, like people ship him with people or something.
Oh, let's not open that can of worms.
Oh, okay.
Let's not open that drawer of spoons. Let's not do that.
Woo.
No, I mean just the way, and I can I have a picture in my mind of the people who are writing these posts, and they are uniformly the same giant nerds who, for some reason, have picked Dukat as a heroic figure when he fails nearly every challenge that's given him. This is probably the one success that he has in the entire series, which is to not murder his own daughter.
Right.
But every other time that he is given a choice to do something, it's almost always the wrong choice.
Yeah.
And that's accurate. And I don't know how that creates a figure for hero worship. I mean, if you want somebody to do dirty things, you got Sisko. If you want somebody who can justify things and use words, you've got Picard. And every one of our characters finds themselves, this is Star Trek, so these are pretty clean characters, but they find themselves in compromising positions, like Thomas Riker. Do you know what I mean? He's a badass with fake side beard. But the way that they look at Dukat and it's, I don't know, it starts off as a meme or a joke, and then it ends up, you're literally arguing on Quora or something like that about how Dukat was the real hero of the series, and I just don't understand.
Like I said, I love.
Remember that time he started a cult?
Yes,
but it was.
I almost picked that episode.
It was a sex cult.
Yeah,
remember that?
I almost picked that episode.
What a hero! What a hero!
Yeah, maybe. I know, right? It's unimaginable.
I mean, that was probably. I mean, except for him, using religion to manipulate young women into sleeping with him. This guy's got a lust that doesn't quit.
That is apparent.
But
yes.
Except for that, and maybe there is no except for that, I'm willing to accept that. That's probably the least damage. If we had just, except for the part where he turned it into a suicide cult at the end, if we had just left him on, were they on Empok Nar? If we just left them over on the other station, maybe, and he's just having a surf and safari with a bunch of Bajoran atheists, which is a non-profit organization. Maybe that was fine, but of course Kira gets wrapped up in it, and then it becomes Jonestown, and that's bad news. So so he could even ruin a free love commune.
Oh, he can ruin anything. Yeah. I am convinced of that. So I just
what a champion.
I know. I love to hate him, but he is not the hero.
He ruined being a pirate.
I know,
all you have to do is just be a pirate, and he couldn't even do that.
No. There are so many other characters in that show who are heroes, or who you could consider to be a hero,
and
or
are also super
behind.
conflicted if that's what you need to get your engine revving.
Look at Garrick, who I love.
Well, people love Garrick too,
but
just don't tell those guys that he's straight or that he's not straight.
Yeah, I know, right?
Because same guys.
I know, right?
Also writing super long posts.
Yeah, right.
About how he was totally getting it on with Zial.
It's get over it.
Well,
guys.
let's just get into it.
Okay.
We're talking about the DS9 episode Indiscretion, the 4th episode of the 4th season, the hot season. 4th season is full of bangers.
Yeah.
Just this first part. It's just hit after hit.
Episode 4.
Yeah. This episode aired first on October 23rd of 1995. The teleplay for the episode is by Nicholas Correa, who wrote 3 episodes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine and Voyager put together. He pitched the story of Hippocratic Oath. Of course, he wrote the teleplay for this episode, and he also wrote the episode Prototype.
Okay.
He got to start writing for the CBS series The Incredible Hulk in the 70s.
Nice.
And went on to write for series like Airwolf, Street Hawk, and Walker Texas Ranger. He was also a good friend of Dukat actor Mark Alimo, apparently.
Really?
That's what I read.
Interesting.
And he passed away in 1999.
Oh, okay. So not that long after this aired.
Yeah. Well, he got to see it air, I guess. The story for the episode is by Tony Marbury and Jack Trevino. Marbury and Trevino also pitched the story for the DS9 episode Little Green Men, which aired later in this season. Not my favorite, but a favorite of many.
Is that the one where...
That's the Roswell one.
Yeah, where all the Ferengi characters
or the Area 51
are
whatever.
like, yeah, they think that, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's not a very good
That's
one.
fun.
It's okay.
It's fun.
Meh.
Don't hate us because we don't like it. Those 2 episodes are Marbury's only writing credits, but Trevino went on to write for several other fan productions like Starship Farragut, Star Trek Continues, and the Renegades series. The episode was directed by LeVar Burton, who we have, of course, talked about on the show before.
Yay,
Suffice it to say that he directed 29 episodes of Trek in all.
Wow.
This is his first DS9 episode that he directed. He'd go on to direct 9 more.
Who is, maybe you know this, maybe you don't, who is the Star Trek actor who has directed the most Star Trek episodes?
You always do this.
I'm sorry. Is it LeVar?
Frequent listeners to Just Enough Trope will
or,
know that I'm always asked questions that I don't have the answer to.
Okay, I'm sorry.
29's high.
It's very high.
I didn't see any declaration that it was him, but I'd be willing to bet that it was him. But of course, Roxanne Dawson is way up there. I'm not sure that Frakes is because he was directing movies and stuff, so I don't think that he's in the running, but it could be Burton.
Okay.
Could be.
Okay.
Solid, capable director. Always like his episodes.
Yes. Hasn't he done some for Discovery also?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
I thought he had. I will zip my lips.
Did you see? He doesn't act that much anymore, but he did appear in an episode of Weird City, which was a Jordan Peele show, a sci-fi anthology show that appeared on YouTube Premium. So no one's seen it.
I did not know that was even a thing.
But it was well reviewed, and it seemed like in the vein of the, Electric Dreams, Black Mirror type thing. What if technology, but bad?
Okay. I mean, I wouldn't say no to seeing it, but I haven't seen it.
Got YouTube Premium.
Yeah, right. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. That, as Kira says, that'll be the day.
Yeah, right.
There is no star date given for this episode, as is fairly common for DS9 episodes, but it is, of course, taking place in 2372. And your assignment, Mika, if you can, is to give us a 25-word synopsis of Indiscretion.
Oh, gosh, do I have to actually count? Kira finds out that a ship carrying Bajoran prisoners years ago during the war has been found, and she has to work with Dukat to find it.
How many is that?
I don't know. I lost track.
That seemed really close.
I think that was close.
That seemed really close.
It was over 15, but yeah. So
I only go to 15 and then
I stopped.
Don't forget the 10 more. Yeah, that's good. Here's some interesting facts from the memory banks about this episode. The basic plot of the episode is very similar to the 1956 film The Searchers, directed by John Ford. In the film, John Wayne plays a Civil War veteran who goes searching for his niece, played by Natalie Wood, who was abducted by Comanches years prior. He's accompanied on his journey by his adoptive nephew, played by original Christopher Pike actor Jeffrey Hunter.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That was kind of like one of the things that they were considering when they hired him for this, because he had been in this. He'd been in, I think it was before. It might have been after The Cage, but he was in a movie where he played Jesus. And so he had a little movie career going on, but then maybe not so much. And so he's maybe looking for some TV stuff. And
gotcha.
They got him for Star Trek. The movie is a favorite of many of the writers on DS9, and the film is referenced directly in the 7th season episode, It's Only a Paper Moon. which I talked about previously on the show with one of the episode's writers, David Mack. In that scene, in that episode, Vic and Nog are watching Shane. And
Shane!
which
I just
is
saw
a Paramount
recently.
production.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they can show it.
Right. And then at the end of the scene, they're like, I like The Searchers better. Which is a Warner Brothers production. So, okay.
Whoa.
Bite that hand.
Okay.
Bite it.
All right.
That's insane. He's clearly still suffering from his PTSD because Shane is way better than The Searchers.
I've never seen The Searchers.
Although The Searchers is a classic.
Okay.
It's also not aged real well.
Oh, okay.
Lot of... I can't... It's been a while since I've seen it, but the Indians are not... they're not depicted very sensitively.
Okay. All right.
So watch that one before it's canceled and gone forever. There's been a few changes in Cardassian society since we've really dug into it in previous episodes. After the presumed destruction of the Obsidian Order, in the third season episode, The Die is Cast, the Detapa Council, which is the figurehead civilian government on Cardassia, is actually like running things now. They actually have power. So we see the council in the premiere episode of this season, The Way of the Warrior, and Dukat has been installed as the chief military advisor for the council. So always just moving up, upwardly mobile.
Yeah.
He's also been promoted to Legate from Gaul. So this is Legate Dukat that we're seeing in the episode.
Oh, I didn't remember that.
It's not mentioned in dialogue, though.
Okay. Okay.
And this is really the only time, I think, because as soon as he brings Zial back, he gets demoted.
He gets demoted.
So,
oh, okay.
so
wow.
only sharp-eyed viewers will notice his new insignia, like his Legate patch.
Interesting. Huh, okay. I didn't catch that.
My mom had a Legate patch when I was growing up at home. Get the bunnies out of it. Let's talk about the guest stars in the episode. Penny Johnson appears, of course, as Cassidy Yates. She appeared on many episodes of DS9 as Cassidy. She first appeared in the Trek franchise in the 7th season TNG episode Homeward. That's the one with Paul Sorvino, and he's trying to kidnap all the aliens and put them on a ship.
God, I don't
transport
remember
thing.
that.
It's Worf's brother.
Worf's brother. Okay. I don't remember.
Wow.
Wow. I know.
I bet Paramount was really proud to get Paul Sorvino for that episode.
I know, right?
You don't even remember it.
I know.
It's not a very good episode.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately. Johnson is an incredibly prolific film and TV actress, having supporting roles on the Larry Sanders Show. And when I say supporting, I mean like series long, front to back. 24, she played President Palmer's wife, First Lady. Castle, and she's a regular on the Orville now. Mm-hmm. Mark Alaimo appears as Legate Dukat.
Yes.
Alaimo got a start on TV in the early 70s with a guest role on the daytime soap The Doctors. He would go on to many guest roles on 70s and 80s series, as well as appearing in supporting roles in films such as Tango and Cash and Total Recall.
I didn't realize you probably have. It's probably been pointed out to me that he's in those, but I can't remember.
I don't remember him in Tango and Cash.
I don't either.
He's either a cop or an inmate, and I think probably a cop in some of the cop scenes.
Yeah.
But I know that he is in the 2 weeks scene. We see him. He's like the leader of the Cohagen's guards.
Okay, gotcha.
His first appearance in the TNG franchise was an uncredited role as Badar Ndudud in the first season TNG episode, Lonely Among Us. He plays this guy who has like this weird lion head alien mask.
Okay.
And he's not even credited. He has the distinction of playing the first significant representations of 2 alien races on TNG. First as Tabak the Romulan in the first season TNG episode The Neutral Zone, and again as Gul Macet the Cardassian in the 4th season TNG episode The Wounded.
Okay.
Alaimo's distinctive neck influenced the design of the Cardassian makeup. Makeup supervisor Michael Westmore based the race's neck ridges on Alaimo's stately neck.
Very nice. That's a really cool piece of Trek trivia.
Apparently, his nickname is the Neck. Apparently, so.
Shh, you guys, the neck is coming.
Mark the Neck Alaimo. Roy Brocksmith appears as Razka Karn. Brocksmith first appeared in the Trek franchise in the 2nd season TNG episode Peak Performance as Kolrami, the Stratagema expert. That's the guy that Data busts up at the table. They're playing the little thumb game. It's like Risk or whatever.
Sure.
Brock Smith died in 2001, but he packed a lot of life and work into his short years, beginning his career on Broadway and going on to appear in many TV shows and films like Stardust Memories, The Hudsucker Proxy, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and Tango and Cash and Total Recall.
What? Crazy.
He is the guy who comes to Quaid right before the beginning of the third act, and he's like, "You're in a dream, Mr. Quaid. Take this pill, and then you'll wake up."
Okay. Gotcha.
And then he shoots him in the face. As you do. And then spits the pill on him. Come on, Quaid. That's the insult to go with the injury. But yeah, he's just one of those guys. He's that guy. You immediately know when you see him, yeah.
That's so crazy that both him and Mark were in the same... Both Tango
it's
and Cash
1988.
Yeah,
I need some extras.
Yeah,
or some guest players, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Sia Batten appears as Zial. This is the first appearance of Zial in the series. Batten would again portray Zial in the episode Return to Grace, although she would be recast twice with actresses Tracy Middendorf and Melanie Smith in subsequent appearances. Batten would go on to play the character Irina in the 7th-season Voyager episode Drive, as well as the Orion Navarre in the 4th-season Enterprise episode Bound. Batten is a model and dancer as well as an actress, having appeared in films like Charlie Wilson's War, Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, and Charlie Brown in I was trying to think of a third Charlie Brown thing. And she's had various guest roles on TV. She was also a founding member of the burlesque dance troupe and recording group, the Pussycat Dolls, though she left the group before the release of their debut album, PCD.
What? That's crazy. Left too soon.
Yeah.
That's really interesting to me.
Her and Carmen Electra are like, we got bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, right. That's really interesting to me that she was recast, obviously, and that role was recast twice. And
yeah.
I knew that, which is, okay. I didn't know that she appeared as Zial a second time.
Yeah.
But then
Return to Grace is the one, that's kind of a sequel to this one, because it sticks Dukat and Kira together again. Mm-hmm. And that's the one where they're on the freighter fighting the Klingons. And at the end of that's when Dukat's like, "I'm going to be a pirate. Come with me, Kira." And she's like, "What?"
And she's
no.
like, no.
No, in fact, I'm going to take your daughter to DS9 and take care of her because you clearly don't care about her.
Right.
You hero, you.
But it's weird that she then was recast as different characters in Voyager and Enterprise. So
all the time that happens.
Yeah, but so they liked her. So why? Yeah. So why was she recast in the first place?
Well, yeah, like we said, she's a model and dancer,
Scheduling
and so maybe she was doing something else. And this is, the Pussycat Dolls were forming around this time, or maybe a little bit later. So maybe she was involved in that, and so it happens.
Interesting. Okay, all right. I mean,
I want to know how Melanie Smith did double duty with this, and she was on Seinfeld a couple times, right?
I don't remember.
As George's girlfriend.
Okay, yeah. The only significant other of George's that I remember is his fiance. But it's just it's weird because she's not the actress that I remember playing Zial because she didn't play her the longest.
Right.
So I'm bad with names. Who's the last one that you just mentioned?
Melanie Smith.
Melanie Smith. She's the one that I remember. When I think of Zial, that's who I picture.
Right.
So, yeah. Okay.
The one that was in a torrid relationship with Elan Garrick. Wow, that was really...
Was it?
That was really
so
proceeding
hot.
Apace.
So passionate.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they go on some dates, but it's not like we ever see them embrace or anything like that.
Just gives her some bugs.
Or even hold hands.
Yeah, read this.
Yeah,
Leave
right.
me alone.
Yeah, I'll see you for lunch. I'll tell you all about Cardassia. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Right.
Lunch.
Right.
That happens a lot. I have not watched DS9 in a while because I've been going through Voyager, Enterprise, and the new Trek shows, and so I don't know. It's like slipping on an old pair of shoes or whatever. It feels good, feels comfortable.
Yeah.
But I realized there's one of these scenes in almost every episode where they're just chilling out. Does anybody work on this station? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they don't. It's almost programmed into it. I know it's a show that features like a bar as one of its main sets, but I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying. I just remember we get to that scene where Sisko is trying to talk about the Cassidy situation with Julian and Dax. And they're all just hanging out, and then everybody kind of stops by and they're like, "What's the? Oh boy, you gotta deal with that." And it's just like, yeah, there's always like a hangout scene, you know. There's just always like a feeling of like they feel like a close coworkers or a family.
Yeah, I think that's really true, and I think that's probably even more true than like TNG. I mean, TNG they have 10 Forward, right? So there's a bar there too. But I don't feel like we have quite as many scenes in 10 Forward as we do at Quarks.
No, and they're always designed. They're just like scenes where if we're going to talk to a non-military or diplomatic character, they kind of get set there. Every once in a while, you have just a total hangout scene between two characters, but it's usually because I don't know. I mean, like they'll talk about like there's a scene where like was it like Wesley's trying to like get some game. Is it the Dauphin? Is that the episode where he's like talking to Riker and he's like, how do I like, pick up on chicks?
I mean, yeah, that sounds very familiar. Yeah.
But often it's just,
I mean, and you would talk to Riker about that.
Yeah. But often it's like a scene like where some other character on the show is meeting with Worf's parents, and they're like, is Worf eating okay, And they're like, well, I'll tell you, like, Worf doesn't talk about you ever. And they're like, well, it was hard. Little Worf when he was growing up. And it's like, no, don't do any character development. This is supposed to be a fun scene. This is supposed to be a cheers scene. Quark has to come over and say something incredibly misogynistic, just to cap this off.
Exactly, which he does in this episode.
Yeah.
So
I do like that scene. I like the button on that scene, though, because it all starts off with, his huge mistake is that he said, well, this is a big step.
Yes.
And then they're like, oh, man, you can't believe you said that.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, well, I'm going to go. Okay. It is a big step. Oh, it's a real big step.
I know. I think it's funny. But I don't know. It's interesting, too, because, like, yes, it's a big step. And maybe this is a bigger step for them with their specific situation, right?
Yeah.
Because they, Deep Space Nine is their home and they all live there. But yet Cassidy, she doesn't have quarters there. So maybe this is a bigger deal for them within their world. Me as a viewer, I'm like, she's not talking about moving in with you, Sisko. She's talking about having quarters on the station, which to me doesn't seem like a huge deal. I mean, I don't even think she's like saying, I'm going to move into the quarters across the hall from you.
Yeah.
It's not even like she's saying, I'm moving in your apartment building. So I'm like,
yeah,
I'm like, you probably see her a little bit more, but I'm just trying to reframe it into like their mindset. Like, I guess maybe it's like, she would see him more. So if this goes south, this has the potential to be more awkward or something like that.
It's space.
Yeah.
It literally means space.
Yes.
Like empty, void.
Yeah.
They can definitely find ways to not see each other if it doesn't work out.
Exactly.
But I think the importance of this, except for... I guess Sisko's our main character, but I kind of resist the lady was like, come on, you dumb man.
I don't love it.
Get your head on straight. Mm-hmm. He's like, oh, well, I pissed her off. I pissed my wife off, and now she's like mad at me, and that's the whole sitcom episode.
Yep.
It's not exactly that, but it has the DNA of that.
Yes.
And I think if they thought a little harder, they might be able to come up with something a little different. But I think the reason it's important is because Sisko and Cassidy are one of the few dating couples we have on any Trek show.
That's true.
You can say Tom and B'Elanna, but
yeah.
Tom and B'Elanna is, for the course of true love, never did run straight or whatever it is. Like, this is like a real relationship between two people who are not Tom and B'Elanna's age. They are older.
They're older.
And they have, they have like adult responsibilities.
Yes.
And, Sisko's running this war against the Klingons, basically. Mm-hmm. And Cassidy has a ship and a business that she has to keep running to stay alive.
Yeah.
And why can't she just join the Federation or something? They just give you free food.
I don't know. I mean,
Anyway, she's got a small business.
Yeah.
And so the fact that they have to, they are adults and they should, and they're direct people and they're self-possessed people. They should be able to deal with this. And yet they have this awkwardness and there's this like, well, am I supposed to ask her to move in with me? Like, I like the fact that we explore that. Like, where has that been explored elsewhere in the Star Trek universe?
That's true. And there is that. And I think he immediately after he said what he said, he feels bad about it, and he and then we, see him dealing with it for the rest of the episode and like talking to his friends about it and like, what should I do? And so, he's trying to think about it. And then at the end of the episode, he says to her, I think, I'm just scared because, which I mean, is a normal response, but he goes into why, because of what he does and his position with Starfleet. And he sometimes gets put into these dangerous situations and his wife died basically because of in some ways he blames himself,
Yeah. He says explicitly, in the episode that his job got his former wife killed.
Yeah, and so that is a concern.
It's like, no, Starfleet got your wife killed. Yeah. Why was she on that ship? Why are families on Starfleet ships?
Yes.
It makes no sense.
Exactly. So, yeah.
Sue Starfleet.
Yeah.
That's what you should do. Back to Dukat. I don't think we've ever talked about Dukat on this show.
How is that possible?
So congratulations.
Yay.
In addition to being the first guest of the show, you get to be the first person to talk about the hero of Star Trek. S.G. Dukat.
Yes.
We don't know his name.
Wow. S.G., really?
Presumably he has a real name because Cardassians have two names. Mm-hmm. But we don't know. I think we just see S.G.,
Weird.
the initials on a screen or a file somewhere. In the books, which are non-canon, his name is Skrain Dukat.
Skrain. That just sounds evil.
Yeah, I think they were working overtime on that one. Like Sheev Palpatine.
I'm kind of reminded, I don't know why, I mean, I guess maybe in some ways this makes sense, of Scorpius.
Scorpius.
Yeah, I don't know. Skrain, Scorpius. I don't know.
Scorpius did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Don't start me on Farscape.
I know. You'll never stop.
We should introduce these basement weirdos to Farscape and go, you want a real quote unquote bad guy who did nothing wrong and has a backstory because Dukat comes from a life of privilege. Do you know what I mean? Like, he comes from a highborn family. Yeah. He's never had to worry about where the next meal's coming from, except when he was a pirate. He, he's a high position in the government, in the military. Yeah, look at Scorpius. They don't even compare.
No.
Poor guy. It's half Sebastian.
Yes.
It's tough.
Yes.
Back to Dukat.
Back to Dukat.
Yeah, people just really, really love him. And as you had mentioned before, they did humanize him. And I think that was important. And Zial was a big part of that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this episode is huge as far as that goes.
Yeah. I still don't know how it works when he only saves her because he was going to kill her and her mother. Like, he's got a bullet for each of them and then just saves her anyway. And did you think that the episode wrapped up a little fast?
It did.
They did all this great work, on Kira and Dukat, having to deal with each other, getting to the point where they're at. Maybe if they let some air out of the first act or skipped a Cassidy scene or something like that, they'd have a little more time
they could have easily done that.
Him to literally draw down on Zial, ready to do it. And Kira's like, no, I'll get the butt.
Yeah, right.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
And then a weird thing that we don't really dig into, a little later we do, but Zial's like, do it. Just do it. I know. The only thing that's been keeping me alive is that you were going to come save me and now you want to shoot me like everybody said. So fine. I'd rather be dead than
I know.
It's like, whoa.
It's super dark. I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
You know?
But he's like, okay, I'll give you a hug then.
And even like I know. And even rewatching it, like that part is not something that I remembered. And so
It goes by so fast.
I was like surprised, like rewatching it. Like,
Yeah.
wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't. That's like such a major thing. How could I forget something like that?
Yeah.
I know. And then he's just like, I can't kill you.
Oh, I can't kill somebody who wants to die.
Is that what it is?
That's not how my kink works.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's. I don't know if I buy it, but story wise, you have to do this. Of course, you have to push him in that direction, and we get about a year out of ambiguous Dukat, you know, where we're not really sure if he's a good guy or a bad guy.
Yeah.
And of course, as soon as the Dominion shows up, he's like, "I, for one, welcome gooey overlords."
Yeah, right.
And you know, that's the end of that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like as an anti-hero, I'm not sure that I ever really buy it.
Buy him as an anti-hero.
Having the Klingons as adversaries, you know, leaves that space filled so we can maybe play around and do some stuff with Dukat. But I just don't, and I know you don't have the answer, but I don't see what people see. Like, to me, it's like this is textbook villain who would tell you that we're not so different, you and I, you know. And
Yeah.
but is full of crap. Like he doesn't mean anything he says, and it's all for him. Mm-hmm. He says he wants to protect his wife and his kids, and he claims that there's some existential threat that like, oh, my family would be in danger if people knew about this. It's like, no, you don't want to lose your position, and you absolutely do. The one good thing that you do in your life. You get the punishment that you deserve. Yeah. And the point is that good people accept that punishment, but you are all mad about it and you start looking for other things to do and a way out.
Do we, I don't remember, I don't recall. Do we ever find out what happens with his wife once she finds out about it? Or is he, I mean...
I don't remember.
I can't
That's
remember
another classic
either.
Mika question.
I'm sorry. Because it's like...
I'm sure she's not happy about it.
No, but I don't remember them like separating or getting a divorce, but maybe they
Well, she's certainly not with him on the Bird of Prey when he's cruising around.
Well, that's true. She might have cut him loose in some ways. So, I mean, I think
I want to see Dukat living at like bachelor flats, you know, and he's just hanging out by the pool.
I know, right?
Hey. My wife left me.
Can you believe that?
Want to crush some brewskis?
Yeah,
later?
right.
I got a great sound system. Join me.
Does he like? I don't remember. Does he like dress like a Klingon too? Because that would be really hilarious. He just like delves headfirst into it.
That's I like his when they wear the Breen costumes in this.
Yes.
It's good storytelling because we get it. Plus, this is another thing that makes me think that they were really out of time, or maybe just couldn't be on the location for that long. But like, they immediately cut to like, oh, they're in disguise.
We don't see them.
We don't need to see like clunk and then some Breen feet are dragged behind a rock.
We don't see that at all.
No, we just cut right to it.
And
but they must have found like a 6.5 foot tall Breen and like a 4'9" Breen.
I know.
Like, how do they find the exact Breen?
Yes. And I always thought that like Breen, whenever we see them, they always seem to be really tall. So how did they find Akira size Breen?
You cut down and like her sleeves and pant legs are like rolled way up.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, as far as cutting corners goes, I feel like I'm more okay with that than like the ending, like you said. Like it just seems super rushed when they finally get to meet Ziel, and then even again when we have the kind of like denouement scene on when they're back at the station.
Yeah,
it's like, can we have a little bit? I mean, we've built this thing so up. Like, let's actually show the climax a little bit more, and the denouement a little bit more. And
it was all designed. Robert Hewitt Wolf had said that it was all designed to do this exact thing, to give, not to make him a good guy, but to give Dukat some depth, you know, give him because his place in the show changes so much. When you think about, this is the first like real long running villain that we've had on a Star Trek show.
Yes.
And, villain, let's say character.
Yeah. Whatever.
And so, but his position keeps shifting, and it's partly because of the political situation and the way that the situation in the Bajoran sector keeps changing.
Yes.
But it's also him like tap dancing and like scuttling, like a cockroach and just surviving, because that's one of his like real traits. So like just keeping him in the mix, but also maybe planting like phantom seeds for like a connection or a relationship between him and Kira.
Yeah.
And having that
Yes.
line at the end where he's like, "Oh, I'll let you know. I'll talk to you later."
I think,
and I don't
yeah.
know if they ever made any real plans for that. I know that Mark Alima would have really liked that.
Yes.
But I think Iris Stephen Bear and None on Visitor have both been like, that never would have happened. Like,
I think so. I remember from the DS9 documentary, like him saying something along the lines of like, "Oh, he liked Kira, and I wish they could have gotten together," or something like that. And then they like cut to her, and she's like not amused.
No.
It's like, maybe you're a little too keen on this idea, but I mean, I think that fits with his character though, because I was trying to remember his
character because he's a super Bajoran weeb.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And I was trying to remember, is this the first, do you know, maybe you don't know, and so maybe I shouldn't even ask this question, because I'm going to get in trouble again. Is this the first episode where we kind of see an inkling of that, or have we seen...
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. It's the first episode where they really spend like the most time together, isn't it?
I think so.
They have the long car ride.
Yeah.
Which like that's something else, just calling out like staples of DS9. The long, uncomfortable runabout scene. It's something that the show goes back to over and over again. And it's so well done that I didn't even notice it until I took a kind of a long break from DS9 and came back. I can think of so many scenes, where it's Odo and Wayun, or it's Kira and Dukat. It's always, they're always plugging their way to somewhere, and then it's like, well, I guess we have to talk because we're just sitting here.
Right.
Like, you never wanted this, but you did this, and yeah.
But I mean, that totally makes sense in DS9 because they're a space station, right? And it's not until they get the Defiant where they have like a bigger ship.
And it's all character. Yeah,
yes.
they get shot down sometimes, or somebody attacks the runabout or whatever. But like in Voyager, if you're in the Delta Flyer, it's just going to be color, commentary, dialogue until they're attacked by whatever the thing is.
Yes.
But that scene is always like specifically set for, this is going to be a character conversation that's going to push, the situation forward, is going to up the tension, is going to drive a character one way or the other. Like that's what that set is for.
Absolutely.
This is number 2 Kira hair for me.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What's number 1?
I don't even know what you'd call this, but it's the sort of short, just sort of like teased, kind of feathered kind of look. Number 1 is the sort of longer from season 7, the kind of finger wave type thing that she had. Yeah.
Oh, that was fun. I liked that too. Yeah. She had some good looks. Trek, they do try to do this. I mean, I guess it's one way of them telling time and like how a character changes, right? Like, especially with a lot of the female characters, they change their hair from different seasons. So
LeVar Burton's trying to grow a beard, and they're like, shave the beard.
Yeah,
He's
I know,
like,
right?
I don't want to shave the beard.
Yeah.
Jodie LaForge doesn't have a beard.
And then it's
apparently.
Gone. Yeah, apparently. Who cares? Let it go, man. Well, what didn't they like? They didn't want Sisko to have like a goatee or anything. What was the story behind that, or is that just myth?
No, it's not. It's not a myth. He rose to fame playing a character named Hawk.
Yeah.
On Spencer for Hire, a character who had a shaved head and a goatee.
Yeah.
And this is before goatees were cool. Mm-hmm. I don't know about shaved heads, but they just didn't want people to associate him with that character. But it's like, you're hiring him on the strength of playing the badass Hawk.
Yeah.
So the only good thing that you get out of it is you get a progression of the character, I guess, in his look, from being kind of a dorky single dad to being like a badass at the end, who's murdering Romulan senators and whatnot, the hero. But up to that point, they're like, no, don't do it. And then eventually they're like, all right, just do it.
I know, right?
Just do it. But even then, they're still transitioning because he grows the beard in, and everybody on board's like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Right.
But then at some point, it's like, "No, get the blue crystal out. I'm gonna do the whole head."
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's fine. That's so silly. I just. I mean, I guess I understand where they're coming from, but I just it's hard for me to. I wouldn't just be like, oh, he's just playing that character, because he has a very similar look. That wouldn't be like the first thing that I would think.
When you hire Will Smith, you want like, ha 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 ha.
Right.
Like that's what you're trying to get, right?
Yes.
If he came in with like shoulder length dreads,
I'd be like, what is happening right now?
Like, we didn't want, Ziggy Marley. We wanted to build Will Smith.
Right.
Show us the abs.
Like, what was it?
Oh, no, I don't have abs anymore. I really like ice cream, so can we just do it like this?
Who was it you were telling me? Was it Ryan Gosling who was...
It's not Star Trek, but
yeah,
okay.
I know. The Lovely Bones role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got hired to play the dad in The Lovely Bones, directed by Peter Jackson. And without really talking to Peter Jackson, he decided that the character would be... Because he's Ryan Gosling. We all know The Notebook, whatever.
Right.
But he thought like the guy would be like good looking, but he'd gone to seed because the character's depressed and is reaching middle age. And so he gained like almost 100 pounds in the months after he had gotten the job before he showed up on set. And he just went nuts. He stopped doing any exercise. He would get canisters of Haagen-Dazs, let them melt, and then drink the ice cream every day.
So gross.
And so he shows up on set, and he's 100 pounds overweight. And Peter Jackson's like, "What are you doing, man? What happened?" And then they fired him and hired Mark Wahlberg. So that tells you, like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's what you wanted.
Yeah,
so.
right. Exactly.
Dad's ripped.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill your daughter, bro. You be careful.
I'm depressed, but I'm doing reps.
I'm depressed, but yeah. But I'm getting up at 3 a.m.
Right.
Prayer. Prayer and workout.
Oh, my goodness.
We got to talk. Speaking of working out your muscles, there's muscles in your butt. We got to talk. We got to talk the ow my butt scene.
Oh my God, yes.
What is going on?
I mean, I think it's clearly what it is to me is like there is so much tension.
Yeah.
So we got to throw a joke in there.
No,
so.
Yeah, clearly. It's that idea of somebody that you love or hate, like you know them so well and you've just been through everything with them over and over again and then you fight through some accident or just something somebody says or does or something you see, like you reach a new dimension in your relationship that sort of cuts the tension. But why him getting something in his butt and then he rubs something on his butt and he's like, oh, my butt. Like, why that? This is your hero.
Because
clearly they want to humiliate him.
Yes.
They want to show that he is ridiculous.
Yes.
So do the people who write these online screeds, do they just go, it never happened. Kira was dreaming. That was a dream. They were in that cave sleeping and she dreamt that happened.
Wow. I don't know how they could.
How do they
say
square that?
I don't know.
Their manly Cardassian hero. Oh, my butt. Oh, something in my butt.
But doesn't this, like you were saying, like, doesn't this make him more human? And
like, he has a butt?
Well,
and things are
because
going in it?
and he's like he's being dumb because he doesn't know how to use the dermal regenerator.
I guess. I don't know.
And like, it's funny it's, I think maybe what they were thinking is, what is a situation we can put these two characters in where something funny happens, but it's somehow, and they decided it was going to be something embarrassing that happens to Dukat. Because if this happened to Kira, I don't think it would be as funny. Like the same scene, but Kira. I think it's funnier because it's Dukat and he's like, I'm in control and I'm, all the time. But like, I think it's because it's like, what is the situation we can put them in that is something that's going to throw both of them for a loop, but they're both going to think it's funny.
He's also, okay, I don't know if I believe anything that you said, but
okay.
But I picked up on one thing that you said, which is it would be different if it happened to Kira. And I think that Kira would just be really mad and she'd be embarrassed.
And Maybe he'd think it was funny, but she'd be really mad at him.
But I think it says something about the lack of empathy and the lack of self-introspection that a character like, and I'm including real world characters, Dukat has, in that to him it's just like, oh, I got hurt. Oh, something's in my butt. And then it's like, oh, what a funny situation this is. Oh, we had a good laugh there. That was amusing. I'm going to kill my daughter tomorrow is in his mind the whole time. Like it just doesn't, he just thinks about the awful things that he needs to do and he's going to do, and it doesn't affect him. Whereas Kira is our good person. I love that the show opens and we see her observing, like we often see Kira praying, meditating, practicing her religion on the show. And we open that way and we know that Kira is a good person. And yet she is like the most stressed out person on the show, who is so tightly wound that she's going to snap at almost anything. Like if something goes in her butt, forget about it. and by the end of the show, she's not that. I mean, she does snap and is like, hey, how's your dead family? Like she does get a little mean sometimes, but by the end, she's just so conditioned and so ready for all the things that they have to do. But just like rewinding to this time, like the fact that he's just, oh, there's something in my butt. Oh, well, that's going to be a good one for the journal. As I place it, my daughter and her mother's earrings next to it.
I know.
It's just like.
Well, I think that especially after, the scenes leading up to the ow my butt scene, like. They find the shipwrecked ship, and Kira wants to help him dig up the bodies so they can figure out who everyone is.
There's some juice in those bodies.
Yeah, probably.
It was weird.
Yeah.
When he's the things that he gets out of the little cairns, like you'd think it would just be like, oh, I'll get some bones from a Halloween store or something like that, or something. Why depict it at all? But there's like red spines and things in there. It's like, whoa, you guys.
It's dark.
I mean, even 6 years later, they would just be brownish, right? It would just.
I would think so.
They're making it kind of gibby.
Yeah, right. And I mean, I don't think that Cardassian bodies are that different from human bodies.
Well, you can have a child with a Bajoran.
Yeah, I know, but like, but yeah, he makes a big deal about how their burial rites are different and how it wouldn't be right for her to, being a non-Cardassian, to assist with that. It's like,
is that even true?
Is that true, or is that something that he's just saying?
Yeah.
But if it's not true, wouldn't Kira know that? But she just kind of accepts it,
Yeah, but she gets the information on her own end by going through the computer.
Yes.
On the ship.
Yes.
But yeah, just the way that he uses things, like he knows that Kira will respect that idea.
He knows how to manipulate the situation.
And so that's what he says.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's playing on her sympathies.
Yes.
He's just so slimy.
He's very slimy.
His argument that the occupation helped Bajor.
Oh my God. It's so disgusting.
The murders or the strip mining? Which one was the real help there?
Right. Like, I think it made you stronger and better people. It's like, you are, like, I mean, what do you even say to that? Like, in reaction to that? Like, I can't even.
Well, for all my talking about her being tightly wound, I mean, she navigates that well.
She does navigate it well.
Yeah.
And I think she pretty, she's pretty good about, setting up boundaries with him too. Like, okay, we are done talking for now. We have to work together, but we are not talking about this anymore. I don't have to be friends with you. And she, she makes it clear too. Like, maybe Bajor and Cardassia will be allies someday, but you and me,
yeah, right.
That is never going to happen.
Yeah. When remember the episode where Kira finds the orb of very specifically traveling in time and goes back to meet her mother.
Yes.
When she's I mean, like, I know they're supposed to be like comfort women, basically, but like, she's kind of decided. I'm not saying that she fully wanted to do it, but she has basically decided
She's come
to
to terms
this.
with it.
Yeah, she's come to terms with it.
She's accepted it.
And she's basically like dating his. That basically makes him kind of Kira's dad. Do you know what I mean? Like at that point, they must have decided like, okay, we're not gonna go forward with any like romance or relationship between them. But if they already, he knows who Kira is, who Kira Nerys is.
He did know.
So he's like, your mom was hot.
Yeah.
There aren't enough things in this guy's butt.
I know. Oh my god.
We need some things in the butt related torture for this guy.
Oh my gosh.
It's terrible.
I know. He's gross.
Do you think that he really liked the Kai Wen?
Dukat is delusional enough that I could see him convincing himself that he did. That,
whatever it takes to get the mission done.
He is playing this role.
That's what that Garrick did.
Yeah, right.
Garrick, he would do whatever it took.
Yeah, right.
To complete the mission.
Yes.
Even if it was clearly being gay.
Right. I mean,
internet.
I mean, is it? I don't know. So you could argue that Dukat is. This is maybe horrible. Such a Bajoran weeb that like he becomes a Bajoran.
He does become a Bajoran, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But he's not like finally.
No, he's not. So it's kind of like I don't know.
My neck lighter. Feels so lighter.
But he does like Bajoran women, and Kai Wen is a very powerful Bajoran woman.
Yeah, that's true.
So why the heck not?
There's still that apocalypse to think about, though.
Yeah, I know.
Gotta do that.
Yeah, I think he had a mission for sure.
Once a character gets possessed, it sort of that's kind of the end of like their character development, right?
Yeah.
Until they're free, and we know they are from possession because Kira's possessed, in that one episode.
Yeah.
But like they're always around, so he's like doing stuff, but it's at the behest of the paw wraiths, and so he can still make choices, I guess, but all of his choices are like, well, I mean, he's just doing all this to open up the fire caves or whatever.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, once he kills Dax, like, I think that's kind of the end of his character arc.
Yeah.
But he chooses to kill Dax.
I know.
Well, he's possessed then, too. I don't know.
I mean,
Plus
I know.
he kills Dax.
I know.
Hold on. Let me see if they mention Dax in any of these articles about how he's such a hero.
I mean, I know that the actress wanted off of the show.
Well,
okay, for reasons.
Look, we're doing text, not subtext.
I know, but I was not happy about that. I was not happy about that at all.
Well, they kill Zial. They're like, a major character is going to die, and they kill Zial, and people are like, oh boy, wow, that's a real shame. And then they like actually kill a character we care about.
I mean, I wasn't happy about Zial's death either because she's so. I mean, talk about killing a freaking innocent, I mean, she just was like wide-eyed and bushy-tailed towards the world. And yeah, her dad's Dukat, but she has no control over that.
Yeah. And Dukat's like, no, I'll find somebody to blame this on. I know I will.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And get revenge because that's what I do.
Yeah. Is there anything you can think of that we haven't talked about in this episode? Indiscretion. Don't be discreet.
I guess one other thing I wanted to mention about going back to how Dukat gave Kira a hard time about how this mission is personal for her. And then it turns out that's the main reason why he's there. Like, I think, like, another thing to her credit, she never points that out and she never makes a big deal about it. She's never like, wait a minute, this is personal for you too. You were giving me a hard time and no. She doesn't do that.
Yeah.
She's not, at least in this instance, she's not petty. She's not, you know what I mean? Like, she's not,
It's an interesting parallel because we've got that with Kira and him. Again, kind of abbreviated end to the episode.
Yes.
So her friend's just dead.
Yes,
it's not like he's there, but he can't leave, or he's killed helping them escape. She's like, oh, I knew that to the end he was my friend or whatever. Like, he's just dead because we can't deal with that. But it is very personal for her. But she's not going to kill anybody. And then it's like totally personal for him. I also like the idea that you've got, on one side, you've got Dukat, a guy who cannot keep it in his pants, his tight leather pants.
Yeah.
And he's completely unfaithful, and he's even going to commit murder to take care of some of his unfaithfulness.
Right.
And meanwhile, you've got on the station Captain Sisko, who is trying to kind of woo this new girlfriend and is afraid to enter into a relationship with her because of his responsibilities, because he doesn't want to put her in danger. And all he's doing is thinking about this other person, to the point where he's not thinking it would have been nicer to have said something better than it's a big step, but he's just being honest. He's like, for me, this is a big step. Now,
this is terrifying.
He has problems admitting his fear. But he's afraid. He's afraid for her. He's afraid for their relationship and all this. And he's thinking about her. And all Dukat is thinking is just problem solved.
Yeah, I know.
So it's a contrast between both of our heroes here, Kira and Sisko, with the antagonist of the show.
Yeah.
SG Dukat. Skrain Dukat. We did it!
Yes!
Get this thing out of our butts! We're done. Rub the thing on it. It's over.
Turn it on first.
Well, we've talked before on the show about your space dad being Picard, and your favorite Picard episode being The Inner Light. Has that changed at all?
I still think that Picard is my favorite, and maybe it is because he is the diplomat.
Yeah.
I think that, just also because he was my first captain, it's hard to, I think we've talked about on the show even that, all the captains, I like all the captains for like different reasons,
Yeah, it'd suck to hate a captain, wouldn't it?
Oh my gosh, that would be the worst.
I hate evil Captain Lorca.
Yeah.
But I bet I'd really like Prime Lorca.
Probably.
It's weird. I'd like to see a show where, I don't love Captain Freeman.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen her just do a lot of stuff yet.
No, we haven't.
On lower decks. But yeah, does the that's a good question. Here's my question that I thought up months ago. Does the captain have to be likable for the show to work?
I think that in the realm of Star Trek, they think the answer is yes.
Oh, they clearly think the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Do you think the answer is yes?
I think it is possible to do without them being likable. But I think if you do that, you have to do something like they did with Discovery and then not make them the main protagonist.
Yeah. Well, I think that having him, masquerade as the real Lorca, but then be a real hard ass,
real jerk.
That's the closest they got. I think that's what they were doing.
Yes.
But then they immediately replaced him with how many marshmallows you want in your cocoa?
Yeah,
crew?
I'm the original space
Cookies
dad.
for everybody.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So they just flipped a completely different way.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know.
Who do you think will be? Do we know yet who the captain is for Discovery season?
No,
3?
I've seen people talking about zooming in on Saru's badge and seeing an extra pip there. So I don't know.
I would really like to see Saru be
I'd like to see him do more stuff.
Well, yes.
I think he really fell to the wayside in the second half of the second season when they were just doing all that Iron Man stuff.
Yeah. It was hard. It's hard not to.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. I don't know. I think you could have that. I mean, and not evil necessarily, but Jellicoe. There you go. But then again, right? Number 2 posts, Jellicoe was right. Jellicoe knew what he was doing.
Right.
Look, he put Deanna Troi in a real uniform, and now she looks professional.
Yeah.
This guy knows what he's talking about. And in the depiction, Ronnie Cox is great, and I like the idea of the character, but we never get any proof that anything that he says or does is worth anything. He goes, because Captain Picard has talked down a million aliens from a million ledges, and he goes in, he's like, okay, listen up, Riker, this is what we're going to do. We're going to make him wait 15 minutes. Then I'm going to go in and go, this coffee's cold, and I'm going to storm out, and you're going to look like, huh? And then you're going to go out after me. And he's like, why would we do that, sir?
Yeah,
it's it's all a tactic. It's all a tactic.
Right.
We don't know that tactic ever really works.
No.
By the time we get to the end of the episode, they've basically invaded this secret facility, right? And they're going to pick up Picard, and then Jellicoe just asks the other captain, hey, can you give us the ball guy back? And that's all that he really does. Otherwise, he's like, I need 4 shifts. I need him right now. I had to kill Bob Morton because he made a mistake.
He's just like, he talks the talk, but does he walk the walk? Or like, does anything that he does carry a weight?
I don't know. I think it works. He's unlikable and people love him. So
yeah. Okay. All right. So there you go. Proof that it works.
Question answered. On our ship, you are working in the turbolift department. Some side duties in engineering. How's that going?
Fantastic.
Have you been keeping away from Geordie, or have they been keeping Geordie away from you?
Yes. I think I found out last week that he made a version of me in the holodeck. I was not happy about that.
Well, for appearing on this show, you receive a promotion to the rank of lieutenant commander. So now that you are equal in rank with Geordie, that's probably some kind of like offense, like some court-martialable offense. You're not even a subordinate anymore. Yeah.
A couple warp core breaches and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm trying to keep at least 6 feet between me and Geordie.
What's in this Coco No-No? Well, Commander Mikanhana, thanks for joining me to talk about Star Trek and the Star Trek universe. If people want to continue the conversation, and they can, at EISTPod on Twitter and the Enterprising Individuals Facebook page, where can people find you online?
Yeah, I'm at justenoughtrope.com and at Mikanhana on Twitter.
Great. And then we talked about finding Sailor Noob at noob_sailor on Twitter as well.
And Instagram. Yep.
And Instagram. Great.
Yes.
Well, thanks again for joining me. We're signing off until the next mission. Hailing frequencies closed.
Mikanhana.
And I'm Caliban.
And we're the hosts of the Sailor Noob podcast. I'm the expert.
And I'm the noob.
You're talking into the wrong end of the microphone.
Aye, aye.
Okay. Every week we watch a new episode of Sailor Moon and learn about monsters, fashion, food, culture, and of course, the sailor warrior of love and justice, Sailor Moon.
All right. Now, what is her rank? Is she an admiral or a rear admiral?
Okay, shh. The ad's almost over. We're a couple of magical people, and every week we Moon Prism Power make up a new episode.
Better amidships. Steady as she goes.
Please stop that. Sailor Noob is available every Friday on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Shiver me timbers.